up, y'all? Welcome back to the ZayMoolaSportsPodcast. I'm your host, Isaiah, and today I'm starting a new series where I will be examining some of the biggest what-ifs in sports history. And today we have Carmelo Anthony. And as we all know, in 2011, Carmelo got traded to the New York Knicks. What if I told y'all that he almost got traded to their crosstown rival, the New Jersey Nets? So that's what we're going to be looking at. What if Carmelo Anthony went to the New Jersey Nets? So without further ado, let's get straight into it. When the Denver Nuggets drafted Carmelo Anthony in the 2003 NBA draft, they expected him to restore their franchise, and that's exactly what he did, as he made immediate impact, averaging 21 points and 6 rebounds per game in his rookie season, as he led the Nuggets to their first playoff appearance since 1995, and from 2004 to 2008, he established himself as one of the best players and scorers in the NBA, as he averaged 25.4 points per game and made 2 All-Star appearances. But although he had a lot of individual success, the Nuggets didn't have a lot of team success, as they were eliminated in the first round of the playoffs during their span. But in 2009, they finally broke through, as they made it to the Western Conference Finals and lost a tough 6-game series to the eventual champions, Los Angeles Lakers. And although they lost that series, everyone felt like that they had finally got over their hump and they were going to be championship contenders for years to come. But in 2010, they regressed, as they were eliminated in the first round of the playoffs to the Utah Jazz. And at this point, Melo was fed up, because he had been there for 7 years and he had never reached the NBA Finals, and he was really ready to compete for a championship. And so in the summer of 2010, he requested a trade, and there were several teams that were interested in him, like the Atlanta Hawks and the New York Knicks. But the one team that was really aggressive in their pursuit of him, y'all, were the New Jersey Nets. They offered Devin Harris, Derek Favors, and 4 first-round picks to the Denver Nuggets. And the Nets thought that they had a deal in place. They thought that they had a great, package to be able to acquire Melo's services. But unfortunately, y'all, there was one problem. Melo was unwilling to sign a contract extension with the New Jersey Nets, and that was the only way they were going to trade for him, right? They were not willing just to trade for him if they did not know he was willing to be a part of their franchise for the long term. And so, unfortunately, y'all, the Nets end up backing out of the Carmelo Anthony sweepstakes, and because they backed out, that allowed the New York Knicks, which were his preferred destination, to swoop in, y'all, and get him. And on February 22nd, 2011, the Denver Nuggets traded Carmelo Anthony to the New York Knicks in exchange for Danilo Gallinari, Timothy Mozgov, Raymond Felton, Wilson Chandler, and 2 first-round picks. And Carmelo Anthony got his wish, y'all. He was back home in New York City playing at the Madison Square Garden. And the Knicks had instant success, as they made it to the playoffs the first year with Carmelo Anthony. But here's the problem, y'all. They weren't able to have sustained success because they depleted their roster to get Melo. I mean, Wilson Chandler, Raymond Felton, Danilo Gallinari, and Timothy Mozgov, those were all really solid players for them that played, big parts on their team. But when they had to part ways with them to bring in Carmelo, that really gutted their roster. And again, although they had instant success with Carmelo, they were never going to be able to have sustained success and be able to compete with teams like the Celtics and the Heat and the Bulls, because they just didn't have the talent to put around Melo to be able to compete against those teams. And I think when you look at Melo's tenure with the Knicks, y'all, it was very disappointing, right? They only made the playoffs 3 times in his 7 years. They never made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. The furthest they made it was the second round of the playoffs, and they were never championship contenders. He had some good seasons there. He scored a lot of points. In 2012, he almost won his first and only MVP award. But other than just, having a bunch of personal accolades, y'all, the Knicks were never serious championship contenders. I think when we look back on this, Carmelo definitely should have been willing to go to New Jersey Nets. I know he did not want to play in New Jersey. He really wanted to be in New York City, y'all. But we all know that a year after that, in 2012, that the Nets were going to be moving to Brooklyn. But Carmelo was eager to get to New York ASAP, y'all. And unfortunately, that's why he did not want to go to the New Jersey Nets. But he definitely should have went to them, because they would have had the necessary pieces and assets to put around him that would have allowed him to compete for a championship, because we know that they were in hot pursuit of CP3 and Dwight Howard. And I think that if they were able to acquire Carmelo, then they would have tried to pursue CP3 or Dwight Howard. But even if they weren't able to get one of those players, y'all, they still would have had a good roster around him, and they built a plan for Carmelo. They had proposed that they were going to have a starting five of he, Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Chris Humphries, and Brook Lopez. They really tried to entice him on going to the new arena, Barclays Center, being a part of the Brooklyn Nets franchise moving forward, y'all. But again, he was unwilling to do so. He really wanted to be in New York City because, as we all know, he is from New York City. But y'all, I just think Carmelo really should have went to the New Jersey Nets because he would have had a much better chance to compete for championships. And I think when you look at this potential trade, y'all, if Carmelo would have got traded to the New Jersey Nets, it really would have changed the landscape of the NBA in the 2010s. Because if he goes to the Nets, then the Nets never trade for Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett, which means, y'all, that the Celtics would have never had the draft picks that eventually would turn into Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I think that's what gets lost in this, that if Carmelo would have become a New Jersey Net, then the Celtics would look drastically different than we know them right now, y'all, because they would currently not have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown on their roster, because when they made that trade, sending Paul Pierce and KG to the Nets, they got back 3 of the Nets unprotected first round picks. And again, y'all, 2 of those picks end up turning into Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So that really would change the trajectory of this Celtics franchise. And then if Carmelo went to the Nets, y'all, then maybe they were able to acquire CP3 or Dwight Howard. Then that means CP3 would have never went to the Clippers. We would have never had Lob City. And then this means that Dwight Howard would have never went to the Lakers, and that the Lakers would have been stuck with Andrew Bynum. And so I really think, y'all, that this is one of the most underrated what-if trades in NBA history, because it drastically, and I mean drastically, would have changed the course of history, y'all, as we knew in the 2010s, because there were just so many different moving parts in this potential deal, y'all, that a lot of teams, the fortune of their franchise really would have changed. And so I just think if we go back and look at this trade, y'all, I mean, again, Carmelo really should have considered going to New Jersey just for that year, and then the next year going to the Brooklyn Nets, because it definitely would have given him a better opportunity to compete for championships. Because again, y'all, they already had some really good pieces in place, like Chris Humphries and Brook Lopez and Marshawn Brooks, some other players as well. And again, they were also in hot pursuit of Chris Paul and Dwight Howard. So can you imagine if they had CP3, Carmelo, and Dwight Howard? Y'all, they would have been able to compete with the Heat and the Celtics and the Bulls for years to come. But unfortunately, that never happened. But fortunately for Carmelo Anthony, he was still able to carve out an amazing career and become one of the best players in NBA history. So there I have it, man. This was my first video of my What If series, as I discussed what if Carmelo Anthony went to the New Jersey Nets in 2011 instead of the New York Knicks. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. And remember, y'all, laughs, good messages or what? Make sure you get your daily dose. And I'm going to end it, man. I love y'all. God bless. Peace.